They've read a book and want to talk about it. It's the Izzie and Coco Book Review Show.
Welcome to Izzie and Coco's Book Review Show. I'm Izzie.
And I'm Coco.
And today we'll be reviewing Coveted by Bear by T.S. Joyce. This is a bear shifter romance novel. This book is set in a small town, and the main character is Crazy Myra. In this small town, everybody's afraid of this girl. They call her a witch. She lives isolated with her uncle, and the love interest ends up being this all-American boy. He's the only one that kind of stands up to her, doesn't like how they treat her, and he ends up being attacked by a bear shifter, and she saves him. She kills him and saves him, so this guy ends up owing her his life. And so things change around, and he wants to help her out her house, which is crumbling, and just help her out in general. You'll hear about that.
And he's not only an all-American guy, he's the son of the richest family in town, because it's an oil
the most
family.
prominent, yeah.
So he's a rich, cute guy in town, and he helps out Crazy Myra.
When I first started this book, the cover is pretty ridiculous, like with most of other bear shifter covers, and at the bottom it says he'll risk it all to save his mate.
It's so ridiculous.
Yes, but let me tell you, this book is really, really good. I loved it.
I really, really liked it.
I was impressed. Good character development. Like, you really feel for Crazy Myra. The author spent a lot of time developing her, and you like feel for her. Her situation was really tough. Like, she was struggling with starvation. The house is falling apart. This is practically a teenager living on her own, like with no means, practically no money. Her guardian had died, what, months ago or years ago?
He was an alcoholic.
He was an alcoholic.
6 months ago.
Yeah, she had a really troubled family situation, like life. And people never stopped to ask what was going on with her. They just assumed it was Crazy Myra, and as soon as she came in, they would make fun of her. And
yeah, that's the worst part, that she was shunned by society. So
yeah, so she hated going into town. You see her, like, she has practically no clothes. She has like one outfit. For her, it was a big effort to go into town and get food. She couldn't do it that often, so it was like a big ordeal to go in. And she goes into like this quick stop kind of little convenience store and diner in one, where that's the only place they have, so everybody is usually there. So she goes in to get her food, and when she's paying, she doesn't have enough money. And so the guy at the register is like, come on. So everybody's looking to see the scene, Crazy Myra. And this guy is finally like, Caleb, the all-American nice rich guy in town. It's like, just here, take this money and like finish paying your stuff. But he says it.
He wasn't like,
no, but he says it just to stop the awkwardness, and everybody. So like, he does it in a mean way, and she just gets scared. She has no social skills. She barely has any interaction with people, and just drops her food and runs out. And that's where that chapter ends. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, he wasn't mean. At first, he was just like, here's what you need to pay. And she was like, no.
Oh, she refused it. She didn't want it. She's like, no.
Oh, you really are crazy. And that's when she's hurt and she runs off.
Yeah.
And so, that's why she's like this asshole.
And then, so they say that, like, okay, she's crazy, didn't take the money. But then it goes to her situation at home. Like, she has no food. This was, like, one of her few chances to get food in town. It's a big deal. Like, she barely has any money for the gas in the old beat-up truck that she has to take. That was, like, her few little cents, and she wasted it. She dropped her money and her food, and I think she's starving for, like, the next week.
What I really like about this, I like the whole book, but I really like the book was that day where they really show that Myra had been starving to death for like a week.
Yes.
So she was weak and lightheaded, and she was like, I have to figure out how to get some food, and she was gonna go hunting.
Yeah, which is, I find amazing. Like, she wouldn't just give up. She hunted her own stuff. Whatever she needed to do, she did it herself.
She was a tough cookie. I really like that character.
Yeah.
And that's the day that her neighbor, who was the bear shifter, decides to go after Caleb, who had bought his property. That's why he was around.
Yes, for some reason he bought this old guy.
Because it had oil.
Yeah, he wanted to drill it, I guess.
Yeah. And so this old guy, he all his sons had died. So he decided to turn this guy into a bear.
Yeah, at the beginning we don't know if he was trying to
kill him or anything.
But
he was about to die, and Myra goes and kills the bear shifter and saves his butt. But like the way she describes the whole scenario, and like she's lightheaded, but she
has no energy herself, and somehow she
drags
this
that
guy
big
back to her
guy
house.
all the way to her house.
Yeah. Which is pretty far away.
Yeah, she doesn't have any clothes, she doesn't have any food, and she stitches him up and everything. And I don't know, like you really get into it's like really stressful situation and
very well written.
Very well written. I really like that scene.
You really get into the story. This is more than a regular bear shifter. Like,
yeah, no, she does a wonderful job of like just that opening scene. No, even the opening scene you were describing at the quick stop at the grocery store.
Yes.
How you can she really sets the tone of how the whole
the
town,
tension. How you know everybody really dislikes her.
Yeah, can you imagine like the worst. Like being the worst person picked on at school, but instead of school or high school, it's like the whole town you live in.
The rest of your life.
Yeah, the rest of your life. Everyone talks crap about you and they make fun of you, and like her situation was so bad that they wouldn't even give her jobs at any of the places because they're like even the people who felt bad for her and wanted to give her a job, they're like, I will stop getting business because
you're working here.
Because you're working here. Because they'll say that you're a witch and that you're poisoning their food or whatever. So it was a terrible situation she was in. So when this kid is like, no, I'm gonna help her because she saved my life, you're like, wow, this is a really good guy. Like you really like the guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The writing in this book is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's not forced, it's not fast. Like it's little by little how the relationship starts growing. So he starts doing little things here and there in the house, and she starts opening up too, because she was like a scared, savage animal. Like
she also didn't. She was like upset at him for what she had done at the grocery
store. She had not forgiven him.
No,
He's like reluctantly saved him.
Yeah, she's like, this guy had to be here dying.
I was like, oh, I guess I'll have to save him.
But it was good, and I like the personalities and that she's just like, I mean, it doesn't matter what situation she's in. Like she will, go from deep inside whatever energies he has and like get through whatever situation she has to.
Yeah, another example of that, like she ended up being homeschooled, and like her uncle was supposed to, I think, have to pay for some special test for you to graduate from high school. He never did it. So like on her own, she got the books, she did the test. I think she was just waiting for one final test, so she still kept trying.
Yeah, she was still trying to better herself, even though like she couldn't go to a school because of the whole town, and her uncle was an alcoholic, so he wasn't paying for her books or anything. She got her own GED and everything. It's a really inspiring story. You wouldn't think.
No, I was like,
by
book cover. I was like, the cover does no justice to it.
No, it's such a good story, and like the whole, I don't know, like you really get in her shoes. Like they really write a really good story. I also liked about this book is how after all of that terrible life she was leading, she gets to turn it all around because Caleb helps her, and she finally feels good enough about herself to go get herself a job. And even though a bunch of people tell her, no, you can't work for us, this lady who's out of town, Hope in the pie shop, who's a crazy lady, gives her a job.
But her first interview, she's like calling her sugar titties. The lady was funny.
The lady was awesome. That character was awesome. And then also
she was strange herself because she was a very small person. I don't know if she was considered a dwarf, but like very close. She was very, very short. So I think she was different. She was out of town. I don't know if that's why she kind of related. She was like, and she didn't take shit from anybody. So
no. And she was always there for her whenever anything bad happened. She was like, you know what, kid, like, you'll get through it and I'll help you out.
And this helped her out so much to grow as a person. She loved working there. It forced her to interact with people. It helped her out so much. I love seeing how this character evolved.
Really grows. And she's able to, like, she has to face, like, a bunch of horrible people at the pie shop. She has to face Caleb's brother.
He was the worst.
He's probably like a rapist.
Yes, he was borderline. Like I can see him beating her up, and
so she had a rapist. So she has to deal with him. And
the
also
mean girl,
who thought was his girlfriend.
He wanted to take Caleb, and he wanted nothing to do with her. She was burned. Oh, yeah.
And all the mean people in town who walked in and saw her working there, like, no, we're not going to eat here. And that lady was like, yeah, well, too bad for them, you know?
She didn't care. She's like, fuck off, okay? I'll take care of it. Oops, sorry. Other customers.
So, and then finally the town gets to see that she's just a kid, you know?
Yeah.
And she gets to redeem herself, and she gets her life back, and she has like awesome boyfriend.
And it's a really nice relationship. Like he also had to give up things, and it wasn't forced. They came together, and it was a really sweet relationship.
Yeah, and actually the whole town discovers that she had a terrible past, that her stepfather killed his mom and tortured her.
That's why she ended up, her alcoholic uncle's the one that ended up taking care of her, because she had an even worse situation at home.
Yeah, and because her stepfather ended up in jail, and after that whole thing, she was actually in a mental institution.
Yeah, because I think he killed her mother in front of her.
Yeah, and he wanted to kill her too.
Yes.
Which he eventually gets out, and they're able to kill that guy.
Yeah.
So that was good. She got her revenge.
Yeah, it was a good thriller. It was a
good action.
Great romance.
Great love story. It was so great because it's this rich kid, and he's popular and he has everything, and he decides to go seek out the unpopular kid, the reject.
Yeah. Against his family, his friends,
the whole town.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he stands up for her, and she just needed the support of that one person to be able to realize, hey, I'm not crazy. I can, and the whole world isn't that awful. It's she could change her situation. It was such an uplifting story. I really, really like this book.
I know. I'm glad I stumbled upon it after
what?
barely there.
I know, a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
You definitely have to read it. I totally recommend this.
Me too.
Okay, well, go check it out. Coveted by Bear. And
by T.S. Joyce.
If you have any comments, email us at books@dapperanimals.com, and don't forget to check out dapperanimals.com.
Ciao.
See you.